Anushka, so we have seen in the last video about array, right?
Yeah.
And hope you have solved that program. If not, then I will going to share you the code. You can have a look on that. I have already shared that slide in the GitHub. You can download it from there, and you can see the video also. It's uploaded in a channel, so you can see the video also. And regarding this code, I will going to share it right now after the class. So yesterday in the last class, I've shown you how to declare an array, right? And we have seen that if you do not declare a value for the particular cell, it will give you an error, right?
Mhm.
They won't take a zero value by default. If you do not initialize any value, then they will take a zero. But they can't do it like because the datas are saved in a sequence. So if you suppose miss any value in between, then it will give an error. And we have also seen that when you do not initialize any value, it will take the value by default the next one. Okay, let me show you. So we have seen that when I was running it, you can see index 1, 300. I have not initialized anything here. I've initialized to 0 and 2. Let me change 300 to 200 and see what it's giving. So while initializing a value, if you do not initialize a value, it will take the next value there, and might assume that the compiler missed that compiler thing that you might forget to declare a value. So they take a value next one in place of that. So that's why it has taken a value. But it the compiler also think that if it's moving a value from right to the left like this, okay, are you getting what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When the compiler move this value of index 2 to index 1, who will going to occupy this value at 2? So in place of that, they will going to uh, initialize the value of the next index, and they will going to repeat it. So that's why we are getting 200 at both the index. And you at a compile time that you were saying that we can miss it, that will give an error if we do like that. So we can't do it. Now, today we're going to see about how we can read an input from the user. So as I said you in the last class that we need to use the scanner library in order to read a input from the user. And how we're going to declare it, you all know the syntax, how to declare the class and how to make a function here. Once you create a main method here, inside that main method you need to just call, you need to first call this scanner library. This scanner is actually a Java file that is present inside the util Java util package. And inside this Java util package, this scanner library will going to help you to accept the input. You can see here the description also, why we're going to use it, and syntax also you get it from here. Once you put the cursor over that, they will this IDE Eclipse will already means they will going to help you, right? Like how you can read a value from the user. And in the interview these questions are usually asked: what is a scanner, how you can going to read it, and how you can initialize a value, how you can read a value, multiple value. And this sc.nextInt play an important role. This sc.nextInt tells you that it's of an integer type. Similarly, if you have a float, then it will be float, double. And for string, you yesterday you were using line, right?
Yeah.
So that is for a string. For string, we use sc.next line. For int, we use int. For float, double, we use float, right? You can see for long, we use long. So it depends, right? Similarly, you can use sc.next also if you want to use string data, as your example when you were running it at that time you were using this. So it completely depends on what kind of data you want to read it. So this sc.nextInt will going to read integer data. This will going to read string data. Long, if you use, then it will going to read long integer or like double. So this These are some function. Okay. So, and why do you use this system dot in? It is similar to like creating an object. You might have know that scanner is also the Java file inside this package. And just like creating an object like this SC, how you create an object, similarly here you have to create this. So here you write like this scanner SC new
Yeah,
scanner.
but why are we creating a new object? I don't understand.
We are not creating an object here, but we, in order to use the input, in order to call the input, we means
Okay, we
whatever.
are assigning a variable so that
Yeah.
call it.
So when you assign a value or when you assign a variable, means value from the user, you need some object to hold those all value, and that value will be assigned to this n. Okay, like how it will be, like suppose here you will first ask the user enter the number that you want to store. Okay, so it will, okay, let me run this and show you first. See, it is asking you enter the number of element that you want to store. So that value will be going to initialize to this n. Okay, base suppose you want 10 element, let me take it 5 as of now. So this 5 will be initialized to what, this n element. Based on this 5 element, this you will write this reading the number of element that you want to enter. So once you confirm it that you want to read 5 element, then you can use the for loop like this and you can read it sc dot next int. So after that you can enter any value, like suppose 1 2 press enter, 3 press enter, 4 press enter, 5, and once you press it, it will print it. So what logic I have applied here.
Yeah, I know the logic.
Yeah. So here you first you are going to read it from the user how much value you want to save it. Based on that, you can pass the value also here. Instead of this, you can pass n here, and and once you run this program, so here you see that I will run this once again. So see here it is still working. So I made a changes here. Instead of 10, you will create the space for the n only. Okay, so here whatever means how much value you want to read it will get initialized to this n, and then n you can pass it to this array. You know this declaration of an array, right? In the last class I have explained you how you declare an array. So it will create a memory for how many number of element, n element, right? So in
Mm.
once you read the element here, you will going to just, you need to just print it. Then how you're going to print it? Int I is equal to 0, I is less than n. So it will start from 0 to 4 index, because it is I less than n is there. So I less than 5 or I less than 3 if you say it, then it will print 0 and 1 index, right? And you don't need to do anything, you just need to call the name of one array. What is the name of one array here? This one. And index is what? I, whatever variable you will use it, that you need to use it here. And then you can call it sc dot next int. Sc is what? Your object that will going to hold that data from the user. And this next int, because it's integer data that you are reading. Is it clear, this program? I will going to share it with you, don't worry.
Yeah, the
So here,
program is clear.
yeah,
What is that system.in?
system.in is used to read an input from the user. So this system.in, when we use it, it will going to hint this scanner file that user will going to enter with the help of input device, that is from keyboard. So this system.in means the user is using any input device that tells by this system.in. So when you pass this system.in, it means that you are telling the scanner library that input will going to accept from an input device that is added to your system. That can be your keyboard, because I'm entering with the keyboard, or there is other input device also, but we are using only the keyboard to enter the value. So that's why we pass it system.in. and when you put the cursor also, it will going to show you like what actually it is used for. It is used to access like it can, you can see it, mean of loading file, library, utility method, quick copying a portion of an array. So in that way we use it. This system.in is you use. Input device. Okay, so here we are using, why we are using two for loop. First for loop is to read an input, and next for loop is to print the value. Okay, first for loop is for read value, and this for loop is for printing value. Okay, so it's very simple program. I will going to share it with you. I have added comment as much as possible. Try to add a comment so that the person who will going to see your code, he will easily understand what you are trying to do it here. Now, if you see this code, you will easily understand like what that particular instruction is doing. That uh, that we usually do in the industry also. We add as much as comment in the code so that everyone they can understand it. Okay, let's see our next code. In this code I will going to tell you like how you can read a two-dimension array. Okay, this is syntax is exactly similar like the previous one. Only the difference is here that you will going to add two subscript here. One is for the row, another one is for the column. New int row and column. Okay, so here just 1 minute. Okay, so here we can see it here. Like we need to add a two subscript here. Okay, 2D new int rows and column. So here when you just declare the 2D name here means any name of a two array and two subscript, and the syntax will be same. The only difference will come here that you will going to need a for loop, a nested for loop you will going to need it here. Do you know like how the flow or how the nested for loop work like yesterday when I explained you?
Yeah, I don't know.
Sorry.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, okay, that's it. Then it means that yesterday I've explained you like for I is equal to 0, you will come inside j is equal to 0, and this j will run how many time till this value satisfy, this condition is meeting, this condition is satisfied. Once this condition become false, okay, it will come out of the loop and it will increment this. So it will be some 0 0 0 1 0 2 0 3 like that. Once this condition become false, it will come increment this value. One will become, it will become 1. 1 is less than how many number of row you will going to enter it. Then again it will be start from 1 0 1 1 1 2 like that. Once you read the data here, your next step will be printing it. So you need to run why we are using two for loop here, because of two subscript. If you check it here in the previous code, we are using only one for loop because we are working on only one subscript. But when you want to work on two subscript, you need to manage the two subscript row and column both. Then you need to use two for loop, and I will going to add it. Once this explanation is done, I will going to start nested for loop or nested looping. There it will be more clear to you, means what actually the uh, nested loop on the use cases. Okay, so here once you read this value, next step is this one more. This is another representation of a for loop. What do you mean by this? You are declaring here a temporary array, and that array will be initialized with the element of this 2D array. Okay, it means that it will going to run how many times based on this number of element of this, and then it will come inside
Again int y is to x. You can see it. Is there any y or x are there? No, right? This y and x will go. Okay, let me run this and show you first. So suppose 2D size, I want 2 cross 2. Okay, I will going to enter 2 into 2 means 2 row and 2 column. Now I will going to enter element 1, 2, press enter 3, 4. So it will give you the data like this. The data you enter is 1, 2, 3, 4. So how many rows you have? 2 rows and 2 column. Okay, so this for loop, how it works, they will create a temporary array, and this temporary array will be assigned with the element of this array, and this temporary array will run how many time based on the number of element of this. So how many number of element do you have, means how many element you read it here?
Four.
Correct. So this array will also be initialized with 4. Okay, and once it is initialized with 4, here you have created one more temporary variable y, which will going to run how many time?
Four times.
Correct. So this time in this way it works. So this is another way of writing the for loop in Java, that reduce your uh, way of writing the for loop. Means this is a shorter presentation.
Okay, your voice is breaking.
Okay, no, now I'm audible.
Yeah. Yeah, you're audible. Okay, are you there because you're not audible right now?
I'm audible. Sorry, actually the power gone. So
Yeah, that's okay.
yeah, so I was saying you that this for loop, let me take it in a correct format. So here, this temporary array x will be initialized with the element of a 2D array, that whatever variable that you will give it, that initialize with the element. So here, suppose 4 element are there, it will initialize 4 and all the element. Okay, now next time here, into y, this y. So whatever you're declaring at the left side, there are temporary variable, and right hand side is your variable that you actually have. Like here, once you create this x array, you will going to use it here again, so that this y will also run based on the number of element of x. So it means that the for loop, first for loop is run 4 time, and the inside one is also running 4 time. Okay, and based on that you will going to print it the content of y, and once you're going to print it, you will give the space, and once this condition become false, once you done printing all the element, okay, you will come out of here, you will print the new line, and then flow will go back again to this here, and you will start printing for the next row. Is it clear to you? Anything that you are not getting?
No, like I understood that the X will get executed four times because the number of content in 2D array are four, and that four is going to Y. Then I mean, what will Y have? It will have the content of X. X will have the content of 2D.
Yes. So X will have a see, x is a temporary variable that will be initialized with this element of 2D, whatever you have read it. Then you will initialize the first one is to initialize the element, and this y into x will be used to initialize the number of elements. So here, this is for what? This is for suppose 4 time. Okay, here you are initializing this. Okay, suppose four element are there here in 2D. So this 4 will be initialized here. It means that this will going to run your for loop 4 time. Internally inside this x will going to initialize the value of x to this y. Here they are initializing a value. Here they are initializing the length of element. Okay, here this 2D having 4 element. So this they will initialize the 4 means the length, means the number of elements. So they will decide, this for loop will going to decide how many time your for loop will run, and this will going to initialize the value, means like 1 2 3 4 they will going to print it. So inner one is for printing and the outer one is for running the for loop.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the another 2D array, and how you can read a value, how you can print it. Just run this code in your system, so you will analyze it. You will come to know like how the changes are happening. Then what you will going to do it, run this code and assign a different element every time. Like here in place of 2, assign 4, assign a value. Then you will come to know like how it is working. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah. So let's start about the nested loop. I will going to share this code with you after this class. So first we will going to learn about what is a nested loop. Okay, nested loop in the sense when you have a looping inside another looping. First of all, let's see about the loop. As you are already know about it, so it will won't be much difficult for you. Loop, you know, right? Means executing the instruction repeatedly. Executing instruction repeatedly, so that is called the loop. Okay, when you want to iterate it, or when you want to loop it, when you want to run the instruction multiple time, then we use it. Then we use this loop. Now how many type of loops you know? How many type of loops you know in C language?
3 for while do while.
Hmm.
So
For loop, while loop, and do while loop. Okay, and what do you mean by this nested loop and their use cases? So nested loop,
it's like loop inside loop.
yeah. So the nested loop, it means there is a loop inside another loop, or you can yeah, you can say it in a simple word. There is a loop inside another loop, and the structure will be something like this. For loop, or let's take it while. So this is your while loop. Inside that you will write a condition. Then inside another, there will be another while loop with the condition, and it will be like this. Okay, This is for while loop. In case of do while, how it is, do, here you will come inside, then there will be another do, then there will be a while condition, then there will be another while condition. Okay, then the for loop, how it is, the for loop is the simplest one. Most people they prefer to use for loop. Why? Because you get everything in the for loop: increment, decrement, condition, initialization inside the single variable, right? Means inside a single for loop, like I is equal to 0, I is less than condition, or you can say it condition anything. Is it clear, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Then yeah, then inside this there will be another for loop, or there can be combination of also, like inside this for you have might be having if condition, or like if you have a while condition also, it can be like that also will be possible. So this is the all syntax of that, how we declare this while loop, do while loop, for loop. This is one thing. Now, what is the use cases? Why we use this nested for loop? Till now, you have seen the for loop, while loop, do while loop, you know it. But what is the requirement of nested for loop? Why do we use nested for loop? Or why do we use nested loop? Nested loop is used in a scenario where you want to manage two variable at the same time, where you want to manage more than one variable at the same time, right? So when you want to manage more than one variable at the same time, in that situation we need to use this nested loop. For in that nested loop, the first outer loop will be your managing one variable, inner loop will manage one more variable. Okay, so here, so this one is your what, outer loop, that will going to manage one variable, and this one will be going to manage another variable. Means you can say it inner loop. So you need to manage both. For loop, we need to manage two variable, more than one variable, and as the number of variable increase, the for loop will also be increased, right? Now as I said you, like I've given you example in the for loop when we were working. I close it, I think, yeah. So in this loop when we were working, you see we are using only one for loop, because we are working on only one subscript and we are managing only one variable here, that is here I. But in the next example I've shown you, when you are working on a two variable, that is your I and j, right? At that time you need to use two for loop together, right? Here I and j you are using, so you need to use two means you need to manage two variable at the same time. That's the reason that we use two for loop. That is only called as a nested loop. Similarly, for while also it will be possible, and do while also it will be a possible. When you want to work more than single variable, it will be called. Now if I say you multi-dimension, suppose you have a 3 subscript, then how many for loop will come?
Three.
Correct. First is will going to manage your first subscript, second will going to manage your second subscript, and third for loop will manage their third subscript. In that way, when you want to work more than one variable simultaneously, means change in one variable will affect other, or when you want to work more than one variable, then we go for a nested loop. And that's the reason that in this two-dimension array we selected this nested for loop, because we were working on two dimension, that is two variable I and j. And you know that I will going to change once, but this j will going to run continuously unless this condition become false. So you are managing I and j with respect to that, right? Is it clear to you?
Yeah.
So
Is
the
it
use,
possible to write this using a while loop?
yeah, you, it's possible,
But
but
it gets very hard, right?
hard in the sense it will increase the complexity of the code. There you need to write a condition, then I and j you will to initialize before, and your what I can say increment you need to initialize it in the center, means it will be something like okay, let me show you. So it will be something like, suppose you need to initialize before integer I is equal to 0, and then you need to run the loop. I is less than certain condition. Suppose you take 10, then inside this, when you will going to run while j is less than 10, but before this j you need to initialize j value also here. Int j is equal to 0, then inside this you need to write the logic, like reading the input from a user. So this one you are reading it, right? So this one, right? So this logic you need to write it there, that like here you need to write it like this. So here whenever I and j value will be run, it will be initialized again. Then you need to increment this j value, press enter. Then
And we have to increment the I one.
just one, you need to, I think, press the new line. Yeah, you need to enter the new line, then you will going to press j. So here you will going to enter this, because you need to next line. Once you will come to the next line, 1 minute, j is less than 10, j plus plus. So as the condition false, you will come to the, yeah, here it will be like this, close. With respect to, yes, it will be like this. And then you need to write again this condition same, while for the printing also.
Then I have a doubt. If okay, okay, then wait.
What doubt you have?
Nothing, nothing. Then.
Okay, so here you can see it. So here you can see, like when you declare it, I is less than 10, you will come inside, j will initialize with 0, j is less than 10 condition true, you will read the value, increment the j value, j value will become 1, and this will keep on running. Once the condition false, you will come to the next line, you will increment the value of I, it will go here, and this, in that way, it, this scenario is similar to that what we have studied the for loop. with a nested two-dimension array. So this logic will work, and this same logic you need to write it for the printing also. So in case of here this reading it, you will going to write this one, system out print y or system out print, like that.
But why are we putting that system, the data you entered include
Data means what? This
this
one
line? Yeah.
I just printed because I wanted to show you that data that you have entered it. If you don't want, you can comment it. This is system out.
No, I'm asking in the while loop why you have kept it inside the loop.
I have not kept it. Okay, this one. This one is. Oh, sorry. Here, we need next line. I wanted to print
Yeah,
next line, so I.
that's good. Okay.
This one will be your next line. Actually, I copied it from there, so it comes like that.
Ah, okay.
There, it will come here. Actually, to ln directly here. So that's why you can remove it, and if you print next line, then it will come to the next line for every time. As this condition become false, the next line will, you will come to the next line, you will read it again, as you can see it here. Or you can do it once also. You can ignore this because you are reading here, right? So you are reading here, in that case you won't need this.
Yeah,
while
that's what I.
while printing, you will going to need this, because while printing you need to
We
print.
need the space and gap and
Yeah,
stuff, right?
and every next line you need to print it.
And that's why.
Yes. Yeah, I'm audible, right?
Yeah, you are.
Okay. So here I have explained you, right, what is loop, nested loop, in which scenario you are going to use it, and the scenario will be where you want to work more than single variable, where you need to manage more than single variable. At that time you will going to use this nested loop. And let's see the example. So you can see it here, as I have written this for loop, right? Just try to understand how the flow will work. Okay, I will going to explain you this for loop, how actually the flow works. Just 1 minute. Let me copy it. Let me, okay, let me paste it here itself. So this for loop, how it works here, you will first initialize this I. Okay, remember the step. This is your first step. Okay, initializing the I value. As you initialize the value, the next step will be what, you're checking the condition. Okay, as this condition become true, you will come inside, you will initialize this j value. If you remember this step, na, means you will easily predict the output of any for loop, any loop. Okay, so this third step will be your initializing of the another variable. Fourth step will be your initialization of this, right? And fifth step will be you will come inside this loop in this condition. If the condition become true, So here, fifth step will be what? You're printing the value. Once you are done with this, once this condition, once you are printing this value, once this condition become false, okay, the condition become false, then the sixth step will be what? This one. And then your seventh step will be what? Again, initialization. Is it clear to you? Always remember this step so you won't be get confused, and you can predict the output, because in the interview they will going to give you a scenario where you need to find out the output of the code snippet. This snippet will be shared with you, and then you need to predict the output. Now let's see, we can find out the output with this. So see, I is equal to 1, is 1 is less than 3, condition true, right? You will come inside, you will initialize the j value, third step. J is equal to 1, is 1 is less than 5, condition true. You will come inside and you will print the I and j value. So what is the value of I here? I value will be your 1, and j value will be what? 1. Next step, once
C++.
you print, yeah, once you do it, you will go back here. Fifth, you will go back here, you will increment the j value, okay. Then you will going to check the condition. J is less means 2 is less than 5, condition true. You will come inside again, you will do it like this, 1 2, right?
Till
Then
1 5.
3,
Till 1 5. I mean.
yeah, yeah, 1 4, and then 1 5. So like this it will, okay. Now 5, once you print this 5, you will go back again, you will increment it 6. Is 6 is less than 5, condition false. So you will immediately come out of the loop, you will print the next line. So now the next line will be what here?
This
Now
dash till
correct. So now the next line will be your dash. Once you print this dash, now what will be your once you print this, the flow will go back again to this I. I value will become what now? Correct. So the seventh step is initialization. I value will become
2, which is less than 3, so it will go inside the loop where j will be 1.
correct.
Yeah.
So I will be initialized with 2. 2 is less than 3, then it will be come inside, then it will print how many time for loop, inner for loop will run.
5 times.
Correct. So it will be print like this: 2 1, 2 2, 2 3, 2 4, and 2 5, right? Like this. Similarly, again, now you see that equal to is there, right? So how you will going to print for the third one? Third one will be your 3 1, 3 2, 3 3,
3.
3 4, 3 5.
I will print the line, I think, once again. Come.
Yeah, yeah, it will come because this was a common line, so I have written here
Yeah.
inside. 1 minute, there is some disturbance. 1 minute. This local vendor, they create a lot of noises. So here you will come to know the logic. So always remember this flow, how to work it, how to for loop. So this is a way of running the for loop. Similarly, let me show you the lab also. So when you will going to run this on the Eclipse, same thing, it will give you the output. Let's see whether it is giving output in that way or another, or any other output. Let's check it. What happened? So you see it here, we are getting output in the exactly same way. What happened? Yes, you see here the output we are getting like this. Now actually I have printed this one, so I've not taken the while explaining the in that paint, but while
And
print,
that's it.
yeah, it's coming like this. You can see.
Can you go down?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is called as your outer loop. That outer loop will be run. Inner loop will always be once the value of outer loop will change, this inner loop will run unless your condition become false. Okay, that's the reason for single I value this is running 5 times, and it will be going to help you in two-dimension array if you want to print matrices or three-dimension data. Then this kind of nested for loop is very useful. Without using nested loop or nested, not only for loop, without using nested loop it is difficult to achieve that.
Do they give in the question like these placement questions by any chance that do it without nested loop just to make it difficult?
No, they because we don't, because in the interview we don't have that much time. Only 30 minutes or like 15 minutes, 20 minutes they give it. Maximum means 30 minutes at least they give it. So in that, if they say you need to use without that, then it will be a very complex.
No,
So
not the written, the coding part, the test, like the written part.
in the written part, no, they won't say you like that. In
So it's just
handwritten interview also, they will say you can explain the nested loop flow, because I remember in the Google and Oracle both, they asked the for loop flow itself. They have given me three for loop in nested, and they asked me how the flow will work. So I have explained in the same way that I explained you in the paint, how the I value will going to change, how the step, what will be the next step, and I have predicted. So this step will help you to find it out the output, and this for loop, nested loop will make our work easier, even for printing the pattern also. If you want to print the pattern, there this for loop is easier to use as compared to other. I can show you other also, means do while or nested while, but while this for loop is easier because there you get condition, initialization, and increment all are in the same parenthesis. Now, for example, how you are going to print pattern. In order to print the pattern, what I did here, I accept the input from the user, like how many rows, means how many column you want. Okay, sorry, how many rows you want. I have taken here height variable. Let me take it as a row. So, and let me run this. So this will going to print any pattern. You can see it here. Sorry, I think I have taken wrong. Yeah. So it will going to print any pattern. Like now I will enter the row here. So you can see it is printing, right, this kind of pattern. So how it is printing it, they are managing the row and column together. Now I have given pass 3, it means that 3 rows are coming. And how it will be, the loop will be going to run same. Only the thing is that instead of printing I and j, I use it here star. If you want, you can change it with o, and you can run this and check it. Any pattern you can print it. Oh shit. Right, so based on that, whatever value you will going to pass it here, it will going to run like that, means that much row. And here what we were doing, we were just reading a value from the user, enter the row value, how many row you want, and based on that we are running the loop. I is equal to 1, I is less than 4, condition true, it will come 1. J is less than I, what is the current value of I? Your I, right? So j is less than equal to I, that is 1 is less than equal to 1. That's why the first element will going to print one time. Now you will going to increment it 2. Okay, so here once you increment this value become 2, how many time it will going to run?
2 times.
Yes. Similarly, it will going to be like that. So do you understand this, how it works? Is
Yeah.
it right? So how you can print any pattern with the help of this nested loop. Similarly, if let me show you while loop. When explanation I was showing you how it works, right? In the notepad also I've told you it is similar to like that. Okay. In this while loop, you okay, let me run this and show you. See, so it is printing till 1 to 8. How many time? Almost 8 or almost 11 time. So the first loop, okay, first loop will tell you how many number of rows. Inside these rows, how many number of column will come, that depends on this value. You apply the logic trick here, that your outer loop will tell you the number of time it will print the whole pattern, that means the row. Okay, and inside one will going to tell you how many time column will come in the each row. Are you getting? Like here you can see, okay, let me take it instead of 8 9. So you will going to see this in the row first. How many number of column you have? 9, right? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, right? So your outer loop is doing what? They will going to generate this pattern. How much time, that will be decided by this. You can say it in a short number of rows, and this inner loop will going to decide how many number of time in each row the data will be printed, like how many number of time the column will be generated. You can see it like that. So here, as I said you, this j value will be incremented. So this, for a single value, for a single value of row, means for row 0, this will going to print 9 time. And as this condition become false, you will going to increment this. The flow will go this I plus plus. As you increment this I plus plus, the flow will go here. They will going to print it, and like that it will be start working. Okay, and this, why we are adding this two line, do you know that this two line we have added, this one is for new line. You can use double slash also, so it will going to print a new line.
Yeah, okay.
Let me comment it and show you the changes. You can comment any line and you can see what changes they are giving. So based on that you can decide. Now see, when I comment this j is equal to 1, it is giving me only 1. Why it is like that? Because here you are incrementing the j, here you are incrementing the j, but the j value are not initializing again. Okay, that is the reason that uh, I use j is equal to 1. So as it print the new line, okay, the flow will go back again here, then it will initialize the j value again 1, right, from the 1.
Or
Either,
it is gonna be the,
sorry,
yeah, if we won't initialize, then it will become like 10 and only one row will get printed.
correct, good. So in that way, it you need to understand the loop in how they are running the loop. Okay, so this is called as a nested while loop. This is outer loop, inner loop. Always remember the trick that I have said you, right? First we're going to tell you the number of rows or number of time the data will be going to print, and the inner loop will going to tell you how many number of datas will come in each row. Means how many number of time it will print in a horizontal direction. Means uh, this is your row, this is row, this is row, this is row. That will be outer loop, and column one will be decided by your inner loop.
Yeah.
Okay, so in that way you need to understand. Now let's see any do while loop also. So you know do while loop, the flow is in that do while. Here the we are what we are doing, we are printing till 18. Let me run this. Sorry, 19. I have taken less than equal to. So here the flow is 1. you initialize the value with 1, you will come inside, you will going to print the value 1, increment it, then you will check the condition. Is 1 is less than 90? Condition true, you will go back again here, do, come inside, print the count value, okay, 2, here count plus plus, you will check the condition, right? Once, okay, let me start again. You count value will be initialized with 1. You will print 1, increment with 2. You will check the condition because in the do while your loop will run at least one time. Okay. In the do while condition, your loop will run at least one time even if the condition is false. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the reason it will going to print at least one. Okay. Next time when you increment it with 2, it will going to check here. If 2 is less than 90, condition true, then you will come inside. You will going to print 2 here. Then you will going to increment 3. 3 is less than 90. In that way, do while work. So now when you use the, can you do it nested do while loop as an assignment, or shall I explain you?
I can do it.
You are you able to do it then or not? Like that I want to ask.
Yeah, I can do it.
Okay. Okay. Similarly, you can work on the condition part also. Uh, I have explained the looping till now. Okay. As you know that about how to write the if condition, if else, nested if.
Yeah, I know all these. Like normally, I know. If there
Yeah.
is anything special in the interview, they might ask them that you can tell.
Yes. So what is the structure of if else or if else if? Like you will check the condition of if. If it is not true, you can check else if, or else if. This is what this is. This is the example of what if else if. Okay, means if the condition not true, you can check it for another, and in that way you will continuously checking. If any of all the condition not meet, then you will print the else condition. There is one condition where you have only if and else, right? Am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, there is one condition where you have only if and else. Like, okay, let me take one program. So this is a condition for what? If condition. If this condition is true, then you will going to print it. If the condition is false, you will not come inside it. So this is for if condition, right? Similarly, if you want if else, so what will be the structure? Suppose if your condition is not true, if a is not less than true, then what you will going to print it? System dot out dot println. So this is a structure of if and else. So in nested for loop, this if condition and this also will going to help you to do that. So here, let me run this and see whether it is working. So here you see the condition is true. So when the condition true, the flow will come inside. It will going to print the a value. In case the flow is not, if the a value is not less than 2, suppose let me take it 1 and run it, in that case what code will execute?
The condition is not true.
Correct. So this is called if else. This is if condition, this is if else, and this one that previously I've shown you, this is called if else if. Okay, where we use if condition if you have only single condition, else we use it where you have to print else condition also, and if else we use where you have a different value of a variable. Like here, if test score is greater than 90, then it will be grade A. If it is greater than 80, then grade B, like that. If any of this condition doesn't match, then we will going to print it for the grade F, means else part we will going to print it. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, there is a nested if condition also possible. How we will going to do that nested if condition?
That is if else if.
Sorry, can you say repeat once again?
Nothing, I will just use the if else if repeatedly.
Yes. So let's see that. If I is greater than j, and let's take one more condition. If j is greater than I, system dot out dot println. Now let me print it and show you how you can use the nested if condition. So here you can see it. First you will see the first condition. Is I is less than j? Is condition is true? Is I is less than j? Am I audible?
Yeah,
So is I is less than j?
it's fine. Yeah,
Correct. So once this condition true, you will come inside, you will check for the another condition. So once, means I mean to say that if this condition true, then only you will come inside and you will apply the another nested if. So this is some similar to the nested for loop, nested while, nested do while. So this way you need to apply the logic. Like suppose if they say you explain the nested if condition, immediately take the simple example and explain on the pen paper immediately this one itself, like similar to this one, so that they will understood, like the knowledge of nested if condition for loop. Might be scenario will vary from person to person, but the how you will apply the logic and how you will create the nested if, this will be clear. Like once this condition true, then only you will come inside and print the nested if condition. So this is what nested if condition. Okay. So in
yeah,
this way, today we have seen the array example, we have seen the nested loop, we have seen the nested condition. Have a practice on this, and let me know if you have any error. I will going to share all this code. Okay, this is a collection of code I will going to share you. You just need to import this folder on your Eclipse and run one by one every program. you will just change, you need to just remove this package, because I have created package in my system. So when you are going to run it, it might give an error. So just remove the package and run this code separately like this. Okay.
Yeah, okay.